Data Voyagers.
Welcome to Data Voyagers. I am Igor Alcantara. I'm here as always with my friend and co-host Angelika, Klidas, and we're recording live from Qlik Connect. And we have an amazing guest here that's also doing amazing work. Angelika, you mind introducing our guest?
Yeah, sure. So we have with us Ashleigh Chapman from the Engage Together uh, for Good organization, I think. Ashley, would you like to introduce yourself and maybe something about your background? I heard something about it yesterday during your session. And from there on, we will continue with our questions.
Okay, yes, thank you. So nice to be with you both, and so nice to be with you all. Yes, my name is Ashleigh Chapman. I'm a human rights lawyer, and I've been working on behalf of ending human trafficking around the globe and across the United States for the last 25 years professionally. Dedicated my life to it, though, as a kiddo when we took into our care 3 children who'd experienced this level of trauma and abuse in their life. And for me, it's been even from that minute about what's broken in communities that allows this type of exploitation to occur, and what do you build to solve for that. And so that's why we built Engage Together years ago, and we've been gaining mad traction when it comes to analyzing data, gathering data, utilizing Qlik as a partner, a close partner of ours, to do that all together. It's been amazing to try to change things on the ground now.
Amazing. You do amazing work. We just had our private conversation. So, yeah, man, really, I don't have any words for it. So I'm truly full. So let's start it for our viewers because, the public here, the 2,000 people, they know you. You had an amazing session this morning, a good conversation yesterday at the theater, what I was showing. So let's start with the question, what is human trafficking and how big is this problem if you look at it today?
Yes. So, and I'll give not the legal definition, but the layman's definition of human trafficking. What we're talking about is the sale of human beings for 3 primary purposes: for forced labor, for sexual exploitation, and for organs. Globally, those who are working very hard to count this, they estimate presently over 50 million individuals worldwide are experiencing this form of exploitation. And here in the United States, over 1.1 million victims as of last year.
Wow.
So this is been escalating. It continues to grow in every form of human trafficking. In the last 5 years, it's grown by 25% around the globe. In the form of like online child sexual exploitation, which is a form of human trafficking, that has risen by about 400% in the last 5 years. So,
Yeah.
so this is in every nation, every community issue, and it's going to take all of us to solve for it.
Yeah, that's I believe as a sub question that sexting, what they
Yes.
call it, is one of the biggest problems at this moment, and we do have to protect our children
Yeah.
in using social media and, for example, a tool like Snapchat, which is the most
Absolutely.
dangerous solution I think in the world.
It is a playground of opportunity for people
Yes.
who are looking for vulnerable individuals, especially kids, to reach out and pretend to be someone else at first, pretend to be a friend at
Yeah.
first, pretend to be someone interested in their life at
Yeah.
first. And it can escalate very swiftly into something much worse. And children don't know how to handle that. So if we're not equipping our children, I always tell parents, it's not actually keeping them safe to not talk about these things because it is occurring. It is keeping them safe to let them know, hey, in an age appropriate manner, someone may reach out to you this way, and here's how you can share that with me, and it's going to be okay, and we're going to solve for it. But equipping your kids, no matter what age they are, to understand that is so important. I'll share even a personal story about that. So, because a lot of people, a lot of parents even will say, well, I've locked it down, right? Like I've locked down the features that might make it unsafe. But my 7-year-old nephew was given a Nintendo Switch for Christmas not long ago. I came the day after Christmas, one day, and I saw it in his hand, and I knew he could talk to people out there in the world. And so I said, listen, buddy, if someone reaches out that you don't already know in real life, don't talk to that person. That's not a safe person. Well, my sister hears me and she knows my job, so she's like, oh, Ashley, don't worry, we locked it down. They can talk to him, but he can't talk back, she's saying to me from the kitchen. And he looks up to me and he says, besides, he's really nice, he's already invited me to a party. So a predator had already, within less than 24 hours, gotten in front of my 7-year-old nephew. And this is called, there's a name for this in law enforcement, I forget, but they're moving them off platform. So even though you lock down one, they can say, hey, meet me over in Snapchat.
Yeah, exactly.
Meet me over here where we can talk. So it is a whole playground of opportunity. We got to
Yeah.
equip our kids to be
For the
safe.
predators, and that's, I think, one of the biggest issues we face in the world now, in
It
the
is.
online world.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Igor, I think you have the second one, right?
Yes. First, I'd like to say that when we were last year in Lund, we were both really impressed by your presentation. It was the one that impressed me the most. But especially, I was impressed by how big the problem is. And we usually think, oh, that happens in a distant country. No, it's happening in our neighborhood. It happens everywhere. So that's actually scary, but I think it invite us to act as citizens, as people who are like worry about those. Now, my question on a follow up to that is, what did you see in practice that made you think that data can really make a difference?
Yes. So I'll go like ages ago when we first started working in communities on behalf of this issue. I cannot tell you how many meetings went something like this. We'd invite everyone to the table who we thought was working on the issue, and you'd have a law enforcement officer who would say, "Listen, I can't pick this child off the street, even if I think she's a victim, because I have nowhere to take her. There's nowhere to take her in our town." And then someone sitting 2 seats away from him will say, actually, we have a shelter here precisely for this use case, and we're 2 blocks away from your precinct. But they did not know each other.
Oh my God.
And so again, I could give you example after example of that. Or you might have 12 nonprofits doing precisely the same thing in the community because they learned about trafficking. Every one of them woke up and said, we're going to do something about it. They all thought of the same thing, and most people do. Raise awareness, break down the doors. Don't do that, by the way. And build a home for people who are hurting. But there's 1,000 things that need to happen in a community to address it well and correctly. And so so that really started me on the path of we've got to give a line of sight to these stakeholders in these communities about literally everyone doing anything around this. And we've got to help them see what they cannot see, because that's where traffickers are operating. So how do we show them what their current response is? How do we show them what their risk truly is? Who's being impacted by this truly? What forms of trafficking are occurring here? And then how do we utilize all that data to create a roadmap for change? So that's what birthed it.
Okay. Yeah, knowledge is power, and if you can help you to solve to this problem, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The biggest question that raises in my head is, how can we make the invisible visible?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I think that is an ongoing search, ongoing discussions in the groups that you talk with to work together to solve things, right?
Mm-hmm.
To help things. Yeah. I remember when my sister has a really big psychological disorder, and she was standing on the balcony with her 6-year-old baby.
Mm.
And the moment I got the call, I rushed over, and I took my 6-year-old niece with me because there was no place, and it was a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Because I took her, and she lived with me for 25 years before she left home. But those moments are so difficult, also for the responders, right? Because
Yes.
there were responders, the ambulances, and everything, and everything had to work together. And we went into the social system, and it was so hard.
Yeah.
It was so hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The foster care, the trafficking element, the abuse. It's something we have to work on. So I'm super proud
Yeah.
of you, Ashleigh. Really,
Oh,
really.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and I might just want to comment, because what you're describing is precisely what we built this to solve for.
Yeah.
Because this is not just traffickers exploiting vulnerable people. They're
Yeah.
exploiting vulnerabilities in our systems of care.
Yeah.
And most people, and they're good people, they're working this problem on the ground, but they have a limited line of sight to the very specific thing that they're doing, and what comes before or after. Sometimes they do not know because they're very focused here.
Yeah.
So how do we illuminate all of that and help them see what they need to see, including each other,
Yeah.
against what needs to truly happen in this community to end this?
Yeah.
It's life-giving to that those people who are on the ground, first responders, because every time we roll and engage together out, we just did it again in another state a couple of weeks ago, and a local law enforcement came up to me and they said, "Thank you, because we've been feeling this.
Yeah.
We've been feeling it, but we didn't have facts to back it up.
I-
And now we do."
And now you do. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's is actually my follow-up question. So
Oh.
you're right on track.
Okay, good.
So what kind of data do you collect exactly? For example, reports, I think, the hidden, the case data, the hotline data.
Mhm.
How do you manage that? How do you get everything that you need?
Yeah, it is quite the lift. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and it's everything from government data to child welfare data, nonprofits sharing their information, to businesses with corporate social responsibility programs. We're getting the entire landscape, not just quantitative data, but qualitative data, aggregated data sets, and so I sort of bucket it a bit like, here's the response side of the data. So here's everything that's being done and who's being served and where that's occurring and where it's located. So we're looking at capacity and accessibility and program strengths and gaps. And then we're on the risk side of the data, which is like open source or shared data sets. Those are like crime stats and census stats, stats of at-risk industries, crimes against children, or even if we do have hotline stats, and it's rare because a lot of people still don't know how to see this. So they might not be calling it in as a human trafficking. They might be calling it in as domestic violence, for instance. So we're unearthing all of that. And sometimes you have to get creative. You have to get proxy data, because we don't actually have the data we're looking for. So how do we look around the data with other data that might give us an insight into what we're really looking for? So every time we roll out, there's our wish list of data, and then we have to get scrappy, about how we pull it all together.
Yeah, and is there also, because Engage Together is a platform?
Yes.
Is there also, because people will know you also in the areas that you work, is there also a kind of way that they can fill in a form?
Yes.
With the how do you call that, the highlights that they see on the street? For example, my English is bad today, sorry,
No, that's
but
okay.
I'm not native. So they recognize something that you
Yeah.
earlier told, and then, where can I report it? Is
Yes.
that the possibility? So you can collect that data too?
We collect hotline calls, yeah, for sure. And so,
Okay.
and Engage Together is the work we do in communities that I've been describing. We also have a whole training and education arm. So we have micro badges and credentials and continuing education units where we're
Good.
training over 50 roles and professions in a community, including concerned citizens, how to recognize and respond to this. And when that happens, we'll go from 2 identifications to hundreds the next year. Not because it just started to happen, but they just started to see it.
Yeah.
So
I would like to do a training like that.
yes.
Yeah,
yes,
yes, please.
Yes.
Igor, I think you have a last question, right?
Yes, absolutely. So, we work with data, and we know when we have the data, there's a lot we can do. However, in human trafficking, which is actually common in a lot of other crimes, a lot of the data is invisible, it's hidden. So, how do you deal with the fact that the data for human trafficking shows only a portion of the real problem, and how to overcome that challenge?
I love that question. It's been bothering me for years. So one of the ways that we solved it, and it was we brought together technologists, data scientists, our team of subject matter experts from law enforcement, child welfare, to design something we now call the Vulnerable Population Index Score. For every time we roll out Engage Together. So we're able now, and we base this off of the CDC social vulnerability index scoring system, but we aimed it at human trafficking. So now we have several buckets of vulnerability. And the reason this is important, maybe I don't need to assume that the connection is being made. Traffickers are exploiting people with compounding vulnerabilities. What I mean by that is, maybe I'm a child who experienced abuse in my home. Maybe I bounced into the foster care system. Then I got into multiple different homes, and I finally ran away, and I ended up on the street, homeless, impoverished, and someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I can help you," and by that someone is a trafficker, and then they disappear with that child or that person. Now we see this in populations like refugees and recent migrants, women who've gone through domestic violence and sexual assault, individuals with disabilities, but they've got multiple things occurring in their life, and they've basically become invisible because our systems of care has failed, right, at that point. But traffickers know where to look. So what we designed was a way to see where those gaps are, where those vulnerable populations are, so that we could say, okay, actually, we've got compounding vulnerabilities building of these high-risk populations in this county, in this community, in this neighborhood. And when we can see the underlying issues, it's telling us a whole lot about who's getting trafficked in that community and even what kind of trafficking is occurring in that community. And that radically shifts the strategy that city deploys.
Okay. Actually, I have now a final question. I believe that this is a problem that everybody needs to be involved. So, if someone watching this wants to help, what can they do?
One of the most important things, I think, is to be personally aware of the signs that you are going to see. You're going to see them in your community or when you travel for work or on vacation. On more than one vacation, my husband and I have recovered victims of human trafficking because we know the signs to look for. So if you go to Learn with Justice U, so Learn with Justice U, like University U, we have a micro badge. In 15 minutes, you can earn a micro badge from Justice U on how to recognize the signs of trafficking and how to report it and know what will happen when you do. So we're trying to help, and it's free. It's just a free course, and we've got other resources there too, but start there. Get personally equipped to see this and be brave to make that call when you see it.
Okay, thank you.
Good one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. We will for sure put it under the recording that we do, so
Great.
everybody can do that training.
Wonderful.
15 minutes
15
and get
minutes.
that badge and recognize the issues on the street.
That's right.
Yeah, in the communities.
That's right.
Good. So to close up, I'm one of the founding mothers of the Ladies Who Qlik, the Women Who Qlik.
Yes.
You are proudly wearing your jacket. So we discussed it this morning, and we really, as Women Who Qlik, want to get involved with your organization.
Wonderful.
So every girl that the four of us, we are crazy about you, and we want to help you as well.
I'm so
Yeah.
grateful. That's
Yeah.
exciting. That's wonderful news.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
let's continue the good work.
Yes.
Do your good work.
Mhm.
Stay healthy. Stay safe.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me so much.
Thank you.